fooled me once. Shame on you. It fooled me. We can't get fooled again.
Welcome to this solo episode of Reframing the Narrative with your host, Discerning Jake. I just poured myself a big glass of discernment and hope you bring your discernment with you as well today and always. Normally, I host Reframing the Narrative with PJ Warren of the Central Texas Rabbit Hole, but there's so much going on right now, and I thought I would go solo for this particular episode for Reframing the Narrative with our co-hosts and sometimes a special guest. You can find us posting every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and other platforms. The message of this podcast is be careful what you wish for. Being for or against something, in my view, really has little effect on reality. It's the proposed solutions we need to be aware of. Just a couple of quick reminders of so-called solutions that we may be familiar with in the most recent years and decades. Solutions to Islamic terrorism in the wake of 9/11 included the passage of the Patriot Act, the formation of the Department of Homeland Security and the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. Yay, more government. Other so-called solutions implemented to keep us safe include naked millimeter wave body scanners at airports, no-fly lists, and restrictions on how much mouthwash you can put in a container and bring with you on a plane. And of course, the United States invaded two countries, towing various international crony states along, wreaking death and destruction everywhere they went. The desire for justice and revenge overrode the rational thinking of millions as they cheered those undertakings on, and no repercussions were ever enacted for the lack of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, or linkage established, even in official reports or investigations, between Iraq and Afghanistan and the attacks.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere.
So let's fast forward to two examples for our current times. Let's take the arguments for and against illegal immigration. Think of the more proper term often used, undocumented migrant or alien. What could be an antidote or remedy for that? Proper documentation, maybe? So couldn't a more neutral or fair identification system in tandem with the fair vetting process be proposed to satisfy both sides? If so, what form could that take? Maybe a universal digital ID, perhaps? What would that look like? Let's quote Dr. Mike Yeadon, a former VP of Pfizer, who wrote the following in his Substack post titled, "The Hill to Die On." And I won't imitate his British accent, but be sure to check him out. The day you sign up for a new format, global editable biometric digital ID, that's the day that any possibility of a continuing free life, free from perpetual interference and increasing control over every aspect of your existence, ends. And can you think of any scenarios that might help facilitate the introduction of such a biometric digital ID? Maybe a cure for cancer, perhaps, that requires some sort of unique identifier for everybody, including what flows through their bloodstream. Moving on, let's take a look at COVID. Those opposed to the mainstream pandemic narrative fall into various places on the spectrum, from no virus at all and total opposition of arm darts of any kind. For the sake of YouTube, you get the picture. To those that have been alerted to the dangers of the most recent form of mRNA injection proposed as the one and only solution to the pathogen said to be wreaking havoc on the world. The No Virus Group has the potential to spread their message far and wide and raise understanding and awareness of human health and wellness, as well as the many factors that can make us sick. As it stands, however, this group is currently a tiny minority with very little voice and few platforms through which to broadcast their message. Meanwhile, the majority of those that believe the most recent mRNA injections did harm still believe that conventional forms of arm darts or injections are potentially good. In fact, how many times have you seen or heard people call them so-called or untested vaccines? For them, someone like Dr. Anthony Fauci is the boogeyman and the epitome of evil, especially since he supposedly conducted gain-of-function research to weaponize those invisible buggers. So there are millions of people that are upset that Biden pardoned Fauci, that still scream bloody murder about lab leaks, and that believe there are better forms of prophylaxis against what are termed pathogens. Are these people on board with the current narrative that the Stargate alliance of top IT and AI oligarchs will be able to cure cancer with mRNA technology? What if the stories we've been fed about Princess Kate or Prince Charles, I just can't take him seriously enough to call him King Charles, what if Princess Kate or Prince Charles, sorry, I just can't take him seriously enough to call him King, comes out and claims that the purported cancers were cured by this technology, and you can have access to it too? So be careful what agenda you hitch your wagon to. Exercise discernment and be especially vigilant about any so-called solutions that are put out there for any problem, real or imagined. But if what you wish for is another episode of Reframing the Narrative, which I co-host with PJ Warren of the Central Texas Rabbit Hole, be sure to look for our next episode. We post every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Find the Central Texas Rabbit Hole on Telegram, where PJ curates deep discussion on many topics formerly known as conspiracy theories, but are better known now as simply questioning reality. And find me, Discerning Jake, on YouTube at Discerning Jake and Twitter or X at Jake Discerning. And look for our new channels on Rumble and a new account on Substack coming soon under the name Reframing the Narrative. Until we meet again, pay attention to where you pay your attention. Laugh at evil and find strength in your life. Oh, and don't let the bastards get you down.
You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe.